Welcome, everyone. This is Pallet News, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I am joined by Cinders.
Hello.
Hello, Cinders. Now, we had a rather busy week last week, but it seems like things are a little quiet again because Cordovan is out on a conference this week, so they didn't have much time in order to do anything or to announce anything or get us prepped for anything. So I suspect we're going to get things a little bit busy next week because I've heard a rumor that they are getting close to opening up the Discord. And so we'll see what happens if he has a chance to do that next week. And of course, we've got more to work on the beta for update 43 since I'm expecting that in a couple of weeks. But speaking of more update for 43, it looks like that they did have a second beta and they had some tweaks to the raid. They didn't go into details what those tweaks were. And while I was going through on the beta, I noticed that there were several Rovanian birds in the collections panel that were not there before.
Yay!
So I think we're going to Rovanian. Now, they didn't call them Rovanian birds or anything like that, but the names of the birds made it sound like something like one of them had the name Merc in it. Mm, and one of them was a thrush. Yeah, it sounds like something near Erebor then, so the names of the birds made it sound like that they're all various places in Rovanian. So I'm guessing that's where the next set of birds are going to be all over the place in Rovanian, out in Mirkwood and Erebor and Lothlorien and all sorts of places like that. We'll see how close they are when they actually get closer to releasing it and actually makes it live.
Yeah.
So yes, more birds are coming. That's what I can tell from the bird panel.
Yay!
And because last week I talked about how many of the locations that did not have task boards were getting task boards. This week we did have another one who added a task board to it. Those were the Ents over in Fangorn. They now have one. So, so it looks like that are they the last ones to do it? You would figure, of course, with the Ents, they were never hasty in anything. Which is probably
Oh,
why it
for
took them
sure.
so long. Yes. But anyway, that's all that I really noticed in this week's vulnerability. Yes, there were one or two other notes in there that I'm sure that we'll go reading lots of notes when the release actually happens. So while this is going to be a short episode, I'm pretty sure this week, I suspect that the episode in 2 weeks is going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, probably.
Probably a little bit longer. We'll have to see, assuming they have everything all ready by then. So, if nothing is happening on the news side, I'm sure that there are store sales about. So, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, we have Make Your Piece of Middle Earth Shine, and you can get 20% off of select housing decorations, select housing sets, and cloaks through February 13th. And the weekly coupon is for free dye burgundy, and the code is Warm Thoughts, WARMTHOUGHTS, no spaces, also through February 13th. I have not looked to see yet. I probably should have, except I already have the pieces, so it didn't even occur to me. But sometimes when the housing sets and decorations are on sale, it's a really good time to get your crafting stations for your house, if those happen to be included. So, worth checking to see which sets are included if you're looking for
Yeah.
those.
Is this really the best time to go be around looking for new housing decorations, considering that a lot of people are getting ready to move their servers?
Well, not everybody's going to move, I don't think. So,
Well, yeah, there is
you
that.
might have a few people who are listening who are like, "Oh man, I really wanted that." But you can also get the housing direction decorations and move them with you. Like they do make
Yeah,
the
but that'll
housing
take storage
decoration
space.
bags. That's what the bags are for. I have most of
Yeah.
my housing decorations in bags, so I might have like 5 of the large housing decoration bags in uh, inventory at the moment. Uh, to collect the drops from all of the wonderful loot boxes and things like that. They just pop right in there, and I can access them whenever I feel like it.
Okay. Maybe I'll think on it.
I don't know. It
But
works.
yeah, I think that's it for our store sales this week. So let's then head into our week in gaming. And what were you up to?
Well, in my very small window of time, about 30 minutes every morning,
Oh boy.
this week, because it is Pep Band postseason, and there were games basically every night this week that kept me from getting home until well after bedtime. I turned in task items every day this week. If that didn't take very long, because it doesn't take very long, I went and I gathered more ore all week. And then I
Okay.
did spend a very small amount of time crafting on my scholar and my cook this week as well. So it's been a lot of just little bitty fast things that I could do and get done. And for gathering scarn and ores, what I have found works really well for Emeralina, my guardian who does all of that. So I didn't have to like stop and fight stuff. I would go. What I've been doing is I've been going to Lynn here in King's Gondor and riding around in that area because all the mobs are gray. So nothing comes to attack me, but I still get the ore that I need. It's still the Shigani ore. So
Okay.
yeah, that's that has been what I've been up to. What have you been up to, Pine Leaf?
All right. Before I go into that, I have a question.
Yes.
Is this the end of the pep band season, or is there another pep band season later on in the school year?
So this will be the last of the pet band season. So it's currently basketball season. We're now in postseason. The boys have lost, so they are out. But the girls are, as long as they keep winning, we're still going, and that will last through the rest of this month. So the next day is the 13th. Yay! Um, so
All right.
we shall see what happens. They're
We shall see
already
what happens.
they're already reserving rooms for the state tournament, so we'll see if we make it that far. But thankfully, it's not every other night now. They should all be happening on like every other day if they happen. So, if they get to keep going.
Yeah. So in high school it's February Madness instead of March Madness, or does it spill into
Uh,
March?
it depends. I think it depends a little bit on the league and their size. So
Right.
the smaller schools, it tends to go faster, just because sometimes there aren't as many.
Yeah,
Depending
okay.
on the state, sometimes it goes slower because there are loads and loads of them. But then like the bigger schools, when you get into 5 or 6A, those really massive schools, there's only like 5 of them in the state or something like that, and so they all like I don't know. It goes much faster, or at least it seems to go much faster. Um, so yeah,
All right. And then I'll go into what I've been doing this week. First off, my warden finished up the questing in the Ekerban Valley. So now I gotta figure out, okay,
yay!
what do I do now? Okay, we'll have to see. Anyway, I did run the two instances that that character hadn't done yet. So I ran the Well of Forgetting and the one with the Restless Dead. So I ran those two instances, and that went fairly well. I then decided to see what would happen if I tried a delving in there and in in one of the it decided to do a level tier 3 delving in one of the missions, and it did not go too well. So I said, okay, do I really want to
Oops.
do this? You know how I hate puddles. You know how much I hate puddles.
Yes, I do know how much you hate puddles.
Right. So, and of course, it's the first thing they add. So, I'm probably not going to be doing too much with delvings anymore, unless I'm with you, because then I have a guardian to
Yep.
handle all the weird stuff.
Right?
Anyway, so my lore master survived the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Good.
So that's good. So we continue on into there. So I'm getting close to leaving Rohan, which is a yay because I'm not exactly the biggest fan of mounted combat. And then the last couple of days, I've been working through the tutorial to my latest game acquisition, The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. And you have a complex set of rules when the game comes with a tutorial.
Right?
It's like, all right, here we go. Here's a 98-page rule book.
Although sometimes
Yeah,
the tutorials are really not so much about the complication of the game as the complication of the controls for the game.
I'm talking
Right?
about a board game here.
Oh,
So
never mind. Sorry, I didn't catch that it was the board game.
it's a board game, yes.
I don't usually like talk about the rule books as like tutorials for those. Like, oh,
Yeah,
you have your rules, a 98-page rule book. Like, what?
yeah,
Who
98-page
reads
rule
that?
book.
That's what I want to know.
Right. So they also include a 20 or 30-page tutorial book.
So, Pine Leaf, are you somebody
Yeah.
who reads tutorials like that?
For this one, I pretty much am going through the entire tutorials
Okay. So you are
because
somebody who reads all of them.
not usually, but for this game, very
Ah,
definitely. It's trying to it get as it as I said, it's a very very thick rule book in there. And need to understand what's all that's going on in there. But anyway, it's sort of a board game version of Elder Scrolls Online. So they have a huge amount of stuff in there. And I think part of the reason they have it in there is because, of course, Elder Scroll video games themselves include at the beginning tutorials in there. So I think they probably part of the reason they put it in there was because of that. It was sort of mirror what they do in the Elder Scrolls Online and other Elder Scrolls. There are all sorts of Elder Scrolls traditions that they give a nod to and how you see in their game mechanics.
okay.
And that's it for my week. We do not have any emails this week. It'd be nice if we got one.
Well, if
But
you're looking for commentary, I can give you some interesting commentary that can fill this that is Lord of the Rings related.
oh, what is that?
So, I know we're a little bit after Christmas time, right? But I
Right.
don't think we talked about the unusual request that my child had for Christmas presents. Um, and that is definitely right in line with Lord of the Rings, right?
What was that? That was a pretty massive set of volumes, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So, for the listeners who haven't heard all of this, because I don't think I've talked with very many of you, uh, my sister aside, uh, my child asked me for all of Tolkien's writings. And so I started looking for the books for him. He's had a single volume version of the trilogy, and then he's had The Hobbit. And as much as possible, I've tried to find the ones that have have Tolkien's original illustrations included as part of them, just because I think that that's more interesting. So I ended up getting him like, I don't know, 7, 8 books, something like that. And the first one that he started with was the Cimmerillion, and he's actually made significant progress. He made like 30 pages into this book in like 2 days, and I was like,
Well, yeah, it was 30, but in the time span of a week, I got over 100.
Okay, so he says in the time span of a week, he got over 100 pages read in the Cimmerillion. Anyhow,
Okay.
so for one of these, and I also got him the audiobook version of them as much as I could, because sometimes it's easier to have somebody else read all of the names while you just look at them, right?
You say, and you hope they're better at pronouncing them than you are.
Yes, and it might help kind of standardize some of the pronunciations too, you know? Um anyhow, so I he got to come to a basketball game with me because my parents were busy and couldn't babysit him. And on the way home, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and he goes, I want to listen to the Cimmerillion. So we put it on in the car, and he promptly fell asleep. So I got to listen to the Cimmerillion all the way home. And what I will tell you from that experience, he says he was only half asleep.
Okay.
Um, he's listening to my conversation. I don't know if his voice is carrying through onto the recording. Um, and so what um my takeaway from this was um if I choose to ever read the Cimmerillion again, I've read it once. I'm definitely just going to do the audiobook version because it was so nice to just listen to the story, and you can kind of I felt like it was easier to get into the story with it being narrated than trying to read all the place names and stuff. Anyhow, as we were
I'm just happy
going
you didn't. I'm just happy you weren't the one that fell asleep.
right as the driver, but he started it at the very beginning where they're talking about the music that was created, and it was just like I remember reading about it. It's been a few years now. Um, yeah, but I was listening to it, and it just kind of resonated in a way that the books had not when I had read the book, because like reading the book I felt like I was just slogging through it, but listening to the narration, um it was like almost easier to picture it as it was happening in a way, if that makes sense. um
Okay.
because it talks about like all of the different weavings of the different strains and the different threads of the music to create um the overall creation, if you will. And then, of course, when I'm not slogging through all of the names and trying to figure out Einar and Valor and all that stuff and track it, like if just listening to it, it was like, okay, yeah, I can see this process of like weaving it together, and um, it being kind of like a cloth, and um, seeing how everything kind of ties together and weaves and interweaves and things like that. So for me, it was a completely different experience listening to it than it had been reading it. And I would absolutely love to listen to the narration of it as opposed to ever trying to read it with the book in front of me again. Um, and not all narrations are the same. So I am going to really quickly pull open the book and see if I can quickly figure out who was reading it without starting the whole thing. Because I don't really want to listen to it right at this moment. Uh, where did it just go? Here it is. Um, okay, I need to look at my. Give me just 1 second, and
All
I'll be
right.
able to tell you who the narration is by. Um,
All right. Should I tell them how they could contact us while you do that?
yes, absolutely.
All right. If you would like to send us a comment, an email, a question, or anything like that, you could send it to podcast@lotroflayers.com. And the Players Alliance has two shows each week. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. And perhaps Cinders now has found what she's looking for?
Uh yes. So the audiobook version that I have is the version that was read by Martin Shaw. No, it is not. It says it is, but it is not. It's the Andy Serkis version.
Oh, the okay. I definitely have had my copy of the Silmarillion well before the Andy Serkis version came out. So
Well, that's what I was thinking, but
I
as
do.
I'm looking at it on here, so I pulled it up on my Amazon account and it says you purchased this on this date and this one says it's Martin Shaw. But then like on my actual Audible, it's looking like it's uh different. So
Hmm.
I'm verifying which version it is because it matters. Um, yeah. So it is the um Andy Serkis version is what I
All
got for
right.
my son to listen to. Yeah. So yeah, very pleasant to listen to. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would have kept going, except I decided I should probably go to sleep at some point that night. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so that was what ended up happening. But that's my Lord of the Rings adjacent, I guess, commentary for you.
Very well. And that is all for tonight, everyone. We'll be back next week where we hope that we will have a bit more news. And we'll find that out next time. But until then, this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.